What if I told you that Iraq could soon erase 4 zeros from its currency, and that this move might silently change the global economic map? Yes, you heard that right. The Iraqi dinar, once dismissed as a currency of chaos, is now standing at the edge of one of the most dramatic monetary reforms in modern history. As of 2025, reports and statements from within Iraq's financial and governmental sectors suggest that the Central Bank of Iraq is actively revisiting the long-discussed plan to delete zeros from the dinar, a phrase that has stirred speculation for years. Behind the rumors and hype, there's a deeper, more realistic picture forming, one driven not by internet theories, but by data, economic necessity, and the nation's urgent pursuit of monetary stability. Over the past decade, Iraq's economy has faced an extraordinary series of challenges, from political instability and security concerns to dependence on oil revenues that fluctuate with global energy markets. Yet, in 2024 and 2025, a notable transformation began to take shape. Iraq's foreign reserves quietly surpassed $100 billion for the first time in years, fueled by strong oil exports and disciplined fiscal management under the direction of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's administration. The Central Bank of Iraq, or CBI, has been working in coordination with international partners, including the International Monetary Funds, IMF, and the World Bank, to stabilize inflation, regulate money supply, and modernize digital banking infrastructure. Within this context, the controversial plan to remove 4 zeros from the dinar has resurfaced, not as a quick fix, but as a calculated economic reform intended to simplify transactions, enhance the currency's credibility, and reduce the sheer physical volume of money circulating in the economy. To understand what removing zeros really means, it's essential to strip away the hype. It doesn't automatically make anyone richer overnight. In practical terms, it's a redenomination, a rescaling of the national currency that makes accounting, trade, and pricing more efficient. For example, if today 1,000 dinar equals less than $1, after redenomination, that same value might simply appear as 1 dinar in the new system. The goal is psychological as much as economic, rebuilding trust in the national currency while signaling to investors and citizens alike that Iraq is ready to move past decades of inflationary trauma. Countries such as Turkey and Brazil have successfully implemented similar reforms in the past, and while Iraq's path is uniquely complex, policymakers believe it's a necessary step toward restoring the dinar's dignity on the global stage. But behind this move lies a delicate balance. The Central Bank of Iraq must ensure that redenomination doesn't fuel public confusion or black market exploitation. That's why officials have emphasized that the process would only begin when economic conditions are stable enough to absorb the transition, and when the Iraqi public is fully informed and prepared. Sources close to the CBI suggest that early-stage preparations, such as redesigning banknotes and testing secure printing technologies, have already been discussed. At the same time, financial experts warn that the real value of the dinar won't change unless Iraq strengthens its economic fundamentals, diversifying away from oil dependency, attracting foreign investment, and creating a transparent environment for both domestic and international trade. Removing zeros is symbolic, but building a robust economy is structural. Iraq needs both. Still, the momentum behind the idea is unmistakable. In early 2025, parliamentary finance committees began reviewing policy documents that outline the technical and logistical steps of the redenomination plan. According to credible Iraqi media outlets, the project has been categorized as a medium-term priority, meaning that its execution could be phased over the next 2 to 3 years, depending on inflation control and budget performance. This has given rise to cautious optimism among economists who view the reform as a signal of Iraq's long-term stability and its potential reintegration into the global financial system. And while ordinary Iraqis remain skeptical, remembering past promises that never materialized, the tone of official communication this time feels more structured, more deliberate, and less political. For now, the dinar's value against the US dollar remains steady at around 1,310 IQD per USD, but the mere discussion of redenomination has already influenced investor sentiment. Forex observers have noted minor upticks in speculative interest, especially among those tracking emerging market currencies. However, both the CBI and government spokespeople continue to caution against speculative buying or unrealistic expectations of an overnight revaluation. Instead, they frame the removal of zeros as part of a broader modernization agenda that includes anti-corruption measures, digital payment adoption, and efforts to curb currency smuggling through unofficial exchange networks. These structural reforms are crucial to ensuring that Iraq's financial evolution isn't just a headline, but a foundation for sustained national growth. If Iraq succeeds in executing this plan, the implications could ripple far beyond its borders. A streamlined dinar would simplify trade with regional partners, make Iraqi goods more competitive, and attract institutional investors looking for frontier market opportunities. Perhaps the most important effect would be psychological, restoring national pride in a currency that has long symbolized hardship. The question now isn't whether Iraq can remove 4 zeros. It's whether the nation can sustain the political or fiscal discipline and public trust needed to make that change real, lasting, and credible in the eyes of the world. As discussions surrounding Iraq's plan to remove 4 zeros gain momentum, financial experts and global analysts are beginning to assess how such a move could reshape not only Iraq's domestic economy, but also its position in the wider international market. Unlike the exaggerated claims circulating across online forums, the reality of this reform is grounded in practical economic management and gradual integration into global systems. For Iraq, 2025 marks a critical period of transition, one defined by the government's ambition to modernize its financial institutions, stabilize inflation, and rebuild confidence among international investors who have long regarded the Iraqi market as unpredictable. Behind the scenes, several economic indicators are quietly improving, creating the right conditions for this bold monetary adjustment to take place. In recent years, the Central Bank of Iraq has made significant progress in tightening monetary policy and controlling inflation, which has hovered at a manageable rate compared to the double-digit levels seen a decade ago. The nation's foreign reserves, now exceeding 100 billion, act as a buffer against exchange rate volatility, while oil revenues continue to provide a strong backbone for budgetary stability. Yet, Iraq's leaders understand that long-term prosperity cannot depend solely on crude exports. To achieve sustainable growth, the government is pushing for economic diversification through industrial development, agriculture revival, and private sector reforms designed to reduce reliance on state employment. This broader strategy is essential because removing zeros in itself is only symbolic unless it's paired with genuine fiscal discipline and industrial productivity. Economists familiar with Iraq's fiscal system emphasize that currency reform must coincide with structural change, otherwise it risks becoming a superficial gesture without real-world impact. On the international front, Iraq's potential redenomination has caught the attention of financial institutions and foreign investors who see the country as an untapped economic frontier. The International Monetary Fund has repeatedly urged Iraq to strengthen its banking sector transparency and adopt international accounting standards to facilitate trade and investment. The redenomination plan aligns with these recommendations by simplifying currency conversion, improving cash flow management, and fostering confidence in domestic transactions. Additionally, Iraq's recent move to expand digital payment systems and implement anti-money laundering frameworks reflects a strong commitment to align with global financial norms. These steps are essential in combating corruption, reducing dependency on physical cash, and minimizing the influence of black market currency exchange networks that have historically distorted the dinar's real value. Regionally, the potential impact of Iraq's currency reform could extend across the Middle East. As one of the top oil producers in OPEC, Iraq's economic stability directly influences neighboring economies, especially those engaged in energy trade, reconstruction projects, and cross-border investments. A stronger and more stable dinar would make Iraq an attractive hub for regional commerce, potentially increasing trade with Jordan, Turkey, and the Gulf states. Some analysts even suggest that Iraq's long-term financial reform could pave the way for regional economic integration, similar to the Gulf Cooperation Council's model, where stronger currencies and harmonized fiscal policies boost investor confidence. However, this outcome depends heavily on Iraq's internal political unity, a factor that has historically been difficult to sustain. Political divisions, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and security challenges remain serious obstacles that could slow down or even derail the process if not addressed with transparency and consistency. The perception of the dinar among foreign exchange traders remains cautious but observant. While speculative rumors about a massive revaluation continue to circulate online, professional traders view Iraq's plan as a redenomination, a technical adjustment rather than a sudden leap in value. Historical examples from countries like Turkey in 2005 and Ghana in 2007 show that such reforms, when properly managed, can significantly enhance economic confidence and streamline commerce without creating unrealistic profit scenarios. In Iraq's case, the government's messaging has become more measured and factual. Officials consistently emphasize that removing zeros will not instantly increase the dinar's purchasing power, but will simplify accounting systems, rebuild national trust, and create a transparent financial environment conducive to long-term growth. This balanced communication approach marks a shift from past years when political rhetoric often overshadowed economic reality. On the ground, many Iraqi citizens express mixed feelings. Some view the plan as a hopeful sign that the government is finally taking decisive steps to restore stability, while others worry that such a move could lead to confusion, especially if not carefully explained and executed. The central bank has reportedly begun developing public awareness campaigns aimed at educating citizens about what the redenomination means, how it affects prices, and how the transition would take place in stages. Ensuring public understanding will be critical to avoid panic, misinformation, or exploitation by opportunistic money changers. According to local reports, the plan could involve a dual currency phase where old and new notes circulate simultaneously before a complete transition occurs, a method proven effective in other nations undergoing similar changes. Globally, Iraq's steady progress is being watched with cautious optimism. If executed properly, redenomination could improve Iraq's creditworthiness, attract long-term foreign investment, and reduce the cost of doing business within its borders. International credit agencies have signaled that they would reevaluate Iraq's rating once the reforms show measurable results in inflation control and institutional transparency. Furthermore, as Iraq continues to strengthen ties with trading partners in Asia and Europe, a simplified currency structure could make cross-border transactions smoother and more predictable. For multinational corporations, the predictability of Iraq's exchange regime could mean greater willingness to enter long-term contracts, open offices, and contribute to the country's reconstruction and development goals. Ultimately, Iraq's plan to remove 4 zeros represents more than a financial recalibration. It is a signal to the world that the nation is ready to transition from recovery to resilience. After years of economic turbulence and political uncertainty, Iraq's leaders are attempting to redefine how both citizens and investors perceive their currency and economy. It's a move that combines symbolism with strategy, requiring patience, precision, and persistence. The real test will come not on the day the new dinar is issued, but in the months and years that follow, when Iraq must prove that this reform is the beginning of sustainable growth, not just another ambitious policy lost to history's archives. Looking ahead, the coming months will determine whether Iraq's plan to remove 4 zeros becomes a cornerstone of its economic rebirth or another chapter of unfulfilled promises. The year 2025 has placed Iraq at a defining crossroads between the lingering shadows of post-war recovery and the dawn of a new fiscal identity. The government's commitment to financial reform has never appeared stronger, but success depends on more than policy announcements. It demands consistency, public confidence, and unwavering political coordination. The Iraqi people, who have lived through decades of devaluation, sanctions, and uncertainty, now watch cautiously as their leaders attempt to rewrite the story of the dinar. For them, this isn't just about numbers on paper. It's about national dignity, purchasing power, and the possibility of a future where their money finally reflects the value of their labor and their country's vast natural wealth. As discussions continue within Iraq's parliament and central financial institutions, the tone of public discourse has begun to change. Local economists now focus less on the mythical, overnight revaluation that has dominated internet chatter for years, and more on the tangible benefits of redenomination. Transparency, simplified trade, and restored financial credibility. Street interviews conducted by Iraqi media in Baghdad, Basra, and Erbil reveal that many citizens view this reform as a long overdue modernization of their economic system. Merchants hope for a simpler pricing structure, accountants for easier record keeping, and business owners for more reliable exchange mechanisms. Yet beneath this cautious optimism lies an undercurrent of anxiety, a fear that corruption, political infighting, or poor implementation could once again derail a promising plan. The central bank's challenge is clear. It must execute with precision and transparency to convince both domestic and international audiences that this reform is real, practical, and sustainable. Globally, the world's financial community is watching Iraq's every move with quiet interest. Major trading partners, particularly China, Turkey, and the United States, are aware that a more stable Iraqi dinar could reshape regional trade dynamics and foreign investment flows. China, already one of Iraq's largest oil importers, has been expanding its role in infrastructure projects across the country, aligning with Baghdad's long-term vision for economic diversification. A stronger and more credible currency could further solidify these partnerships by enabling smoother trade settlements and reducing the need for dollar dependency. Meanwhile, U.S.-based analysts view Iraq's reform as a potential stabilizer in the Middle East, a move that could encourage fiscal responsibility and reduce vulnerability to regional currency fluctuations. Still, they caution that any sudden shift in Iraq's monetary system must be managed with careful communication to prevent speculative panic in global forex markets. The domestic banking sector will likely be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this reform. As Iraq transitions toward a digital-first economy, redenomination offers a unique opportunity to integrate modern banking practices and reduce reliance on physical cash. Over 70% of Iraq's population remains outside the formal banking system, according to World Bank estimates. This poses both a challenge and an opportunity. The central bank's digital transformation initiative, launched in 2024, aims to expand mobile banking and e-payment platforms, allowing citizens to transact safely and transparently. When combined with the removal of zeros, such reforms could mark a turning point in Iraq's journey toward a functional, data-driven, and inclusive financial ecosystem. If executed correctly, it could drastically reduce money laundering risks, close black market gaps, and make Iraq's economy more predictable and appealing to foreign investors seeking stability in an uncertain world. But the road ahead will not be easy. Iraq must confront several key challenges before redenomination can succeed. Persistent corruption remains a deep-rooted issue that weakens trust in public institutions. Political divisions among factions within parliament could delay or dilute the reform process. Additionally, Iraq's dependence on oil revenue makes it vulnerable to global price fluctuations that can destabilize budgets and currency projections. To navigate these risks, policymakers are increasingly looking toward fiscal discipline, reducing unnecessary subsidies, improving tax collection, and encouraging private sector growth. Several international consultants have advised Iraq to study the post-redenomination experiences of nations such as Romania, which successfully implemented structural monetary reforms while maintaining steady economic growth. These case studies demonstrate that redenomination works best when supported by long-term financial education and consistent government messaging. As 2025 progresses, Iraq's people are beginning to realize that their nation's future doesn't rest solely on the removal of zeros, but on the values those zeros represent: discipline, transparency, and renewal. The government's promise to modernize the economy resonates with younger generations eager for stability and international respect. For older citizens, however, the memories of past disappointments linger. Many remember earlier attempts to stabilize the currency that never materialized, leaving them wary of grand promises. To overcome this skepticism, Iraq's leadership must deliver visible, measurable progress, improved infrastructure, reduced inflation, and a stronger dinar that holds real purchasing power in the hands of ordinary citizens. Only then will the plan to remove zeros transcend policy papers and become a living symbol of national restoration. If successful, this reform could inspire a broader economic awakening across the region. Iraq's strategic position and resource wealth give it the potential to become a financial and industrial hub for the Middle East. The country's transformation from a cash-dependent, oil-reliant economy to a diversified and digitally empowered nation could serve as a model for others emerging from years of instability. However, success will require a level of patience, coordination, and public communication rarely seen in the country's modern history. Every step, from printing new currency to educating citizens, must be carried out with precision and honesty. Iraq cannot afford half measures. This is a defining moment that could shape its trajectory for decades. And to those watching from abroad, the investors, analysts, and ordinary followers of the dinar story, the message is simple: separate the facts from the fiction. The removal of 4 zeros is not an overnight miracle, but a disciplined reform aimed at building trust and stability. The real revolution will not happen in a single announcement, but through sustained policy and public participation. If Iraq follows through, history may one day remember 2025 not as the year of hype, but as the year when a nation reclaimed the strength of its currency and the confidence of its people. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe Iraq can truly rebuild the strength of its dinar through real reform, not speculation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more fact-based updates, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest verified developments in global currency and economic news. Your voice matters, and together we'll continue separating truth from hype in the world of financial change.